you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you're joining me from. I say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Accept my greeting according to your time zone. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You can be among the first to receive it. Then go to the comment section at all time. Leave your comment, drop your contribution. If you have suggestions, make it out there. If you have any criticism, put it down on the comment section. It will make us to get better, presenting you a better program.
Would you put this on the scale? I don't know if you've really taken a look at the Chimamanda
I've seen the
letter.
Yes.
So what do you make of the letter first before we go to what Femi Fani-Kayode has said?
Again, I have a problem with responses like this when they are not issue-based. There are things she raised in the letter, you're not addressing it. Rather, you're insulting her person. You're calling her names. What about the issues she mentioned about mutilated results, about violence, about tribal divide? These are facts that are all over the media. Nobody is denying that these things didn't happen anymore. And if this is the case, in the midst of it, are you saying she's wrong, her facts are wrong? That's not what he's saying. It's more like when you and someone enters into a political argument or any kind of argument, and then you're dishing out facts, and then the person, becomes aggravated, and the next thing you're hearing, they crazy, they mad. Something to bother you, God punish you. That kind of idea. And the person is expecting a bystander to think that that's part of an argument. It's not. It's only showing that you're unintelligent in your approach. I've always said it, that when issues are raised, the best approach is pick the issues one after the other. I said, you said that we mutilated results, there are no evidence. And let all Nigerians listen to you. She also said that an argument against these facts will look as though that you are calling Nigerians unintelligent. She stated that in a letter. So are you saying that Nigerians are foolish or we are intelligent? And how are we intelligent if we are denying the obvious fact before us? The issue that she raised are critical issues and things that even international bodies have recognized as things that flaws our election. And what's even engineered this letter was because some persons from APC camp were agitating that the United States should send a congratulatory message
to the president-elect.
To the president-elect. They are the one that called for it. And then somebody looked at it and said, no. President, if this is what they are doing, we too are also writing, we are reacting. These are the facts with the current elections that we have. And we're saying, don't congratulate anybody. Allow us to take the full course of justice. Allow the final whistle to drop, like in a football game, before you say, this is the winner. And I looked at the language of his writing. I am disappointed at him. Calling her a diva.
So
again, what's brought about obedient tribesmen?
Because I wanted to also raise that matter. So do you think that the letter really is inciting obedience?
That's the point. It's not. It's addressing a very obvious issue within this political time. We have to be careful. If there's anything that I've brought in tribe now, it is his response. The letter was not addressed to obedience. It was addressed to the United States president. So are there obedience in the White House that will not ginger or try to push President Biden and say, we are obedient, we have interest in Nigeria. So except maybe there's something they know about the White House that we don't know. But if that is not the case, the letter was addressed to the White House. You write a letter to the White House telling the White House, no, that is not what happened. This is a percentage of violence that happened is not enough to mar our election. The results are not mutilated. This is 100,000 results from the IRED that we have gathered during the inspection. You can take a look at it. Cancellations were not done in our elections, in our election results. INEC uploaded when they should upload, and the results are in tandem with the ones that polling unit agents have. You send in your evidence and the American government will look at it. But this is not what he's doing. This is name calling. This is shaming. And like I said, for his kind of person, it is very disappointing that this is the best he can come up with.
Wait. Look at, let's say, Estray Chimamanda's letter now to Biden. Do you think that she was on the side of projecting the obedient more in that matter, or she was addressing very glaring issues that we saw during the February 25th elections and the March 18th elections?
I wish I printed the letter out. And like I said, I read through the letter. She mentioned issues of mutilated results, issues of violence, issues of tribal divides that even disenfranchise some persons, and a lot of other things that she mentioned, all narrowed into the happenings within the election.
Okay, looking at issues of tribal divide that she mentioned,
yes.
Do you think that that's on the heels of the reason why Femi Fani-Kayode is saying that this is trying to...
The tribal divide was across every part.
It
was across every part. We've discussed it before. It's across every part. There was tribal divide in the north. We have videos of Islamic clergymen who were telling their people to vote for a northerner. We had Obi, who was trying to foster the fact that it should be an issue-based election, but he also was moving from church to church, and church to church is not tribal. Someone can say it's religious, in quotes, but it wasn't tribal divide. But we also had the Yorubas on the other parts, who were also on the part of the president-elect, Tinubu. These were core major tribes. In fact, this election was quite sensitive, tribal-wise. We had Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba, the three major ethnicity in Nigeria. And within these three major ethnicity, we had Igbos who were supporting Tinubu. We had Yorubas who were supporting Obi, and we had Igbos who were supporting Atiku. Across the three core political candidates, we had their tribesmen scattered everywhere. But we also noticed that some persons wanted to use this as a tool. And particularly in Lagos, we saw how this played out, especially during the governorship election, where people were openly told, if you're not from this tribe, don't vote. Or let me put it, if you're from this tribe, don't even bother to come in here to vote. It was on video. And so, if somebody decides to catch that into a letter, and then these are part of the thing, because what that means is basically for me, not more of a tribal divide, but disenfranchising some persons on the ground of the tribe they belong.
I thought it was party lines.
No, it wasn't party.
They said we are not for this party.
There's this assumption. Let me put it this way. There's this assumption, even religious-wise, that if you're coming from the east, you're a Christian. And if you're coming from the north, you're a Muslim. It takes us over time to realize that not all Northerners are Muslims, and not all Easterners are Christians. But that is the prima facie judgment we give to the both political sides. Now, so in the same way too, when they were coming, they know that it is typical that an Igbo man will likely want to vote for Peter Obi. Unfortunately, they didn't also know that there are Igbos who were campaigning against the same Peter Obi. So, if someone had noted this out on the grounds of facts and push it, the best way to have reacted is what I'm saying now. We had Igbos supporting a Tinubu. We had Igbos supporting an Atiku. We had Yoruba supporting a Peter Obi. We had no tribal divide. However, during political times, there will be conflicts here and there. And some persons, to push their agenda, may want to use this narrative. If you send this to the United States President, you're going to sound a little bit sensible. But what are we seeing there? self-seeking, self-serving.
Because these are some of the things she really mentioned. I mean, he really mentioned.
Yes,
he said,
subjective.
He accused Chimamanda of self-serving, self-seeking, jaundiced, subjective, partial, primitive, tribal observations, and in impossible ethno-religious sentiments.
All these years, Chimamanda had not been all these things until she added her voice to a political matter. All these years, has she been all these things? Or is it because now she added her voice, and her voice is against the political narrative of the ruling party? I don't know how people come up with their criticism, but I don't think any intelligent person will take this seriously. I would love to see if this was on the social media. I'm not on Twitter. I would love to see how the Twitter community is going to attack this. There's nothing intelligent about this. It's just grammar. Big grammar. Open dictionary and look for big words to abuse somebody. People are complaining about 3-time issue. We were here. I will give you instance with my poll. The whole of the Ward 16, Ward 10 from, let me use the part where I supervised or monitored. From St. Andrew down to Ikoku. You go there and you're hearing LP.
Well, if you're just watching us from different parts, St. Andrew, Ikoku, they're all in Port
Harcourt.
So you can really get the understanding of what he's saying.
Thank you very much.
He's talking from.
And then we're all hearing LP. And then result came out. Uploaded. And we're seeing APC. I also snapped my own results. And I will be looking at the result and be wondering, is it the same result they announced in my polling unit that I'm seeing, or is something else? You go to a bank, your own check in your own writing, you've made a little mistake. The bank will tell you to sign on top. There are some forms you're filling, you make mistake, the forms is condemned. This one you have TPEX, cancellation, corrections, and next day announce the same result. And you're saying that Nigerians should not complain. Now, he has also gone as far as criticizing the American system and saying that America, the reason you shouldn't complain to America because American system also has its own flaws and all that. If we have half the leaders Americans have, we will not be complaining. Yes, American system is flawed, but their flaws are recent issues of recent times, while our own are issues of the foundational issues.
I wonder how you came up with this one, how you came up with this expression.
Okay, I will give you that. When did we ever get it correct politically in this country? At what point in our history? They had gotten it correct for a long time. It is now that some persons within the American system is trying to mess it up.
Okay.
And if we even say their own is flawed, at least it is near perfect. It is something that they have very strong institutions that can stand without undue influence from, the presidency. Donald Trump was a president, he couldn't even influence the American results to favor him. The FBI was against him. The media was not even on his side. Everything was turning against him. You already know where the results will turn to. Here in Nigeria,
Let's look at some other things now. He's really says, analyzing and explaining the matter raised by FFK. It says the former presidential aide said if anyone needs to know that lawlessness has consequences, it is her candidate, Peter, and not the people. Africa has come of age. We do not need to get a congratulatory note from any Western nation before we sleep well at night, the statement added. The former minister called Chimamanda's memo nothing but a long-winded, empty, tentitious and boring episode of dishonest garbage. That's what he said now.
Again, name calling. Which issue has he addressed there? both sitting, we were both reading it. What issue has he addressed? Apart from calling her names and insults. Chimamanda is a well-respected child of Nigeria. We are proud of her. And if there's anything anybody owes her, even in the public space, is a respect. You can criticize and talk critically about issues without calling anybody names. We've had people insult Peter Obi even on national TV, and they will say, that's my big brother. It's not a sign of weakness. That's how to talk. That's the kind of atmosphere we need in our politics. By doing this, you're still heating up the politics. And this is what we're still complaining about. We don't want anybody heating up the politics at this time. And a lot of young people look up to her. So imagine all the young persons who are looking up to her, hearing you call her this kind of names. Are you not inciting violence indirectly? You're also heating up the politics. When people, the problem with our politicians is they cry. Let me put it this way. They're the one beating you and they're the one crying. There's this little analogy of neighbors who heard cry of a woman in the house. They were hearing sound pouncing and they were shouting, "Oga, don't kill her. Oga, don't kill her." They were pounding the door open and the woman was crying. Only for them to break into the door, it was the woman that was sitting on top of the man, beating her husband black and blue, and she was still the one crying. And the whole persons were surprised. This is the position where we found ourselves in our political terrain. PDP was the one that won election. PDP is the one protesting that they want to inspect.
You mean APC?
No,
okay,
in River State.
River State, okay.
Yes, in River State.
Okay.
They're still the one protesting, agitating. For what? So it's more like you are the one beating the child and you are the one crying. For me, this kind of letter, this kind of name calling is insightful. Chimamanda is not just anybody. She's a face of Nigeria. She's an African child and a proud one at that.
All right. With what she has written, do you think it will really further hinder the President of the United States, Joe Biden, from congratulating the President-elect?
If Joe Biden wants to congratulate the President
and make them not to recognize the person of the President-elect,
once he is sworn in, they have no option. They may have laws. If they look at it and says, based on our laws, they are a sovereign nation. Nobody can tell them what to do and what not to do. America is a sovereign nation. We must respect that sovereignty. And there is no rule under international law that binds them to congratulate any president. The reason why the international community is concerned is that Nigeria is at the center of a lot of things when it comes to Africa. We are called the giants of Africa. It is true. That name is true and correct. Though right now we have a lot of challenges and national issues that may make us look as though we are not looking it. But by virtue of resources, by virtue of our population, by virtue of a lot of things that economy and a lot of things you can extrapolate, we are giants of Africa for real. But somebody is trying to cripple this giant and not make it work effectively in its might and in its power. So that being said, America being an independent nation, a sovereign nation, and the world power at that, can look at, they sent some persons to monitor the elections. And the people went back and gave their reports. And the report they also gave was also not favorable.
Okay, so irrespective of what anyone writes,
yes,
they choose to really congratulate or not.
Yes, they will choose to congratulate or not.
Reports,
yes,
right?
They have their reports, and the report was submitted to them. So they have also looked at their own reports. You think they will believe? You think it's because of what Chimamanda wrote they are going to change their mind? They will work on based on what their report is. And secondly, America will also want to check what their political advantage will be if they lose ties with Nigeria. They will check all those things. But for now, I think it is too early, based on the polity as it is heated up, for us to be worried about congratulatory message or not. Once Tinubu is sworn in, if he eventually is sworn in, people will congratulate him because Nigeria is a sovereign country. They must respect our constitution one way or the other. And if he wasn't sworn in, then they would have been right and say, yes, it is good for us to wait for the final whistle to be blown before we congratulate anybody. Remember what happened to the British Prime Minister who rushed to congratulate the president-elect in Twitter. Instantly, Nigerians, the angry guys, they bombarded him, and, they started saying, why would you be doing this?
Was it not Ukraine?
No, he's the British guy.
Okay.
The British Prime Minister.
Ukraine also had his own fair share.
Yes, he also fair share, but it was the British own that I read. So I have to stay, yes, because I had to go through all the entire trend.
Okay.
And they were like, come, we have a process here. After elections, there are petitions. Tribunals take on, appeals go on, and then we get to know how it works. Why in a hurry? Or didn't you hear the report your own people also gave?
Someone said that on Twitter?
Yeah, somebody said that on Twitter. You saw the report, so why in a hurry? And I think the whole thing is we should stop heating up the polity. Allow the due process of law to take place. Whether anybody congratulates, doesn't congratulate is not important. Once any of the parties is recognized by law and is adjudged to be the rightful candidate elect and sworn in as the president, the whole world will have to recognize it one way or the other. We have people who are not running democracy and they have sitting heads of states, and Americans still recognize them whether they like it or not. You understand? So it must not necessarily be that they have to do it at the time others are doing it. A sovereign nation allow them to take their time. There's a whole lot. They have probably even more evidence than we do.
Maybe.
Yes, they have more evidence than we do. In fact, there was the other time someone was saying that INEC is not going to rely on the evidence that America is going to release. They're going to rely on their own. So they have also done the underground work. They have one of, assuming they have one of the best IT personnel they can have. As the server that we have, is it not an American paid server? They can tell the server people, tell us, send us copy of the results. Let us look at it.
Well, let's see how this one unfolds. Well, it will really spark a lot of things.